I damaged my brain when I was a child. Because of an arranged childhood engagement, Leander had no choice but to take care of me. But later, he fell for his junior, Sabrina, so he would always push me onto his friend Vincent, making him keep me company instead. That day, Sabrina and I both suffered head injuries in a car accident. Leander chose to save her first. I nearly died because I wasn't treated in time. And all he did was explain flatly, "Sorry, but I don't regret it. Her head can't be injured. She was born for physics. She shouldn't end up like you." At last, I decided to give up on Leander. The next time he pushed me toward Vincent again, I went home with Vincent, and I didn't return that night. I heard that Leander went almost crazy looking for me that night. Chapter 1. I held 2 tickets to a couple's amusement park event. As soon as I arrived downstairs at Leander's lab building, I couldn't suppress my excitement and jogged upstairs. Just as I reached the lab door and was about to push it open, a sweet, familiar female voice rang out. "Hey, Leander. I've been wanting to ask you something. That girl who's always following you around, is she your girlfriend?" The one speaking was Sabrina, Leander's junior. I froze, unconsciously tightening my grip on the tickets. Leander's voice was as cold and distant as ever. "No." The next second, Sabrina let out a cheerful yay. "So that means I can go after you now, right?" Leander didn't refuse. I pushed the door open and stood there, stunned. I made no effort to hide the confusion and hurt in my eyes. When Leander saw me, his expression remained indifferent. 2 boys nearby noticed the awkward tension and quickly tried to smooth things over. "Aw, just kidding. Just kidding. Don't take it seriously, miss." "Yeah, Sabrina's just talking nonsense." Sabrina stood beside Leander, leaning over the desk as she played with his sleeve. Hearing them, she straightened up and let out a light laugh. "You guys feel sorry for her? If you think she's so pitiful, why don't you date her yourselves? All you can talk about with her are low IQ topics. Babysitting someone like she's a mentally disabled child and making her your girlfriend, what kind of weird fetish is that?" The 2 boys flushed red and fell silent, embarrassed. When I looked at them apologetically, they immediately avoided my gaze, as if afraid I might really latch onto them. From beginning to end, Leander never denied what Sabrina said. He only seemed dissatisfied with my sudden appearance. The boy frowned slightly, his tone cold with a hint of questioning. "Why aren't you staying at home properly? Why are you running around?" The tickets in my hand were already crumpled. I hid my hand behind my back. Then I looked up at Leander, confused. "Why did you lie to everyone? Aren't I your girlfriend?" The entire lab fell silent, so quiet I could clearly hear the trembling in my voice, thick with tears. Leander looked at me as if I had said something ridiculous. He set down the dead-end notebook in his hand and stared at me for 2 seconds. Then he asked, "You think we're in a relationship?" The blatant absurdity in his eyes stabbed into me, making my whole body ache. "Aren't we?" Leander didn't answer. Or maybe he just couldn't be bothered to. Sabrina rolled her eyes at the ceiling, laughing helplessly. "Little girl, are you so dumb that you don't even realize it anymore?" Chapter 2. Vincent, who had been doing experiments in the far corner, had his back to us the whole time and didn't say a word. But now, he turned around. His gaze fell on Sabrina and Leander. "Aren't you going to send me last week's experimental data?" Everyone assumed he was addressing Leander. Leander rubbed his brow, clearly finding it troublesome. "This batch of data, I'm asking her." Vincent cut him off calmly, his eyes settling on Sabrina. Sabrina let out a confused huh? Then asked softly, "Vincent, this experiment is too difficult. Isn't it normally just you and Leander who handle it?" I don't know how to do it." "You don't?" Vincent lifted his eyes, looking at her with a faint, ambiguous smile. "I thought someone with your high intelligence would definitely know how." Sabrina forced an awkward smile. "Compared to you, senior, my intelligence is still a bit lacking." Vincent leaned back against the multimedia desk, his voice lazy. "Is that so? Then by your logic, should I also call you a mentally disabled child?" Sabrina seemed even physically weaker than I was. After Vincent's words, she staggered slightly, her face turning pale. Leander caught her in time. He asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" I think my blood sugar is low. She spoke weakly. The next second, she collapsed into Leander's arms. Her voice was faint. My head feels so dizzy. Leander. Hearing that, Leander immediately picked her up in his arms. His gaze casually fell on me not far away, and he paused for a moment. He looked at me as if I were a burden. Then he turned his head toward Vincent. Help me look after her for a while. I'll take Sabrina to the infirmary first and come back for her later. Leander had pushed me onto Vincent once again. After putting away his equipment, Vincent walked straight toward me. His gaze landed on the arm I had hidden behind my back. Recently, I had spent far more time with him than with Leander. He understood me even better than Leander did. He pulled my hand out directly and opened my palm. After glancing at the words printed on the tickets, he asked, "You want to go?" I shook my head. After all, the couple's amusement park was meant for couples. Going with Vincent would be inappropriate. He seemed not to notice my refusal. Without letting go of my hand, he simply pulled me along as we walked out. His voice was lazy. "Come with me back to the dorm to change. Then we'll go." Chapter 3. By the time Vincent brought me to the couple's amusement park, I still hadn't quite processed what was happening. It wasn't until a girl promoting games approached us. "Wow, you two are the best-looking couple I've seen all day. Want to join our game?" My brain didn't seem able to properly control my mouth. The words slipped out almost immediately. "You misunderstood. We're not a couple. My boyfriend isn't here." The girl forced a smile and looked me up and down for a few seconds. "Then you're really bold, aren't you?" Her gaze toward me turned into one of contempt, and she snorted before walking away. Vincent also let go of my hand, a cold smile forming on his lips. "Nice. Then call your real boyfriend to come keep you company. I'll head back. This other guy should know his place." Only then did I realize the girl had thought I was cheating with Vincent. Seeing that Vincent was really about to leave, I hurried after him and grabbed his sleeve. "I'm sorry. Did I make you angry?" My people-pleasing personality, shaped since childhood, made me apologize instinctively. "I didn't mean to make it sound like you were the other guy. I just reacted too slowly and said it without thinking. I thought I might have ruined Vincent's reputation." Vincent lowered his gaze and responded with a quiet mem. His tone carried no clear emotion. "I know. Let go of me. I'll call your boyfriend and have him come keep you company. This is a place for couples. I don't have the right to stay." I hadn't forgotten Leander's denial not long ago. Panicking, I shook my head. I don't have a boyfriend. If I disturbed Leander now, he definitely wouldn't come for me. I remembered Vincent telling me to let go, and hesitantly loosened my grip on his sleeve. But the next moment, Vincent grabbed me instead. He suddenly pulled me in front of him. The boy lowered his head and looked straight at me. "Leander isn't? There's no such thing as a one-sided relationship." Leander denied it, so it wasn't. So I silently shook my head. The coldness in Vincent's eyes faded slightly. He had forgiven me for what I said earlier. Chapter 4. There were quite a few booths in the amusement park. Vincent and I strolled around leisurely, until I was drawn to a plush rabbit and stopped in my tracks. It was extremely delicate and adorable, cute enough to be called a rabbit princess. Vincent followed my gaze. "You like it?" "Yes." I touched my wallet, confident I could win the rabbit princess. But when we reached the booth, the owner said it wasn't for sale. It was the prize for first place in a game. The owner pointed to a box of chocolate sticks in front of us. Both partners each bite one end of the chocolate stick. Whoever leaves the shortest remaining length wins. I looked at the rabbit on the shelf, disappointed. I stood there, staring at it without blinking, unwilling to leave. Out of the corner of my eye, Vincent walked over and took a chocolate stick. "Come here, girlfriend." His tone was casual, but the way he said it sounded completely natural. "I'll win the rabbit for you. If we weren't a couple, how could we play this game? We'd end up kissing." I felt that Vincent was being a bit flirtatious. I shuffled closer in small steps and lowered my voice to remind him. "We can't play. We'll end up kissing." Vincent curled his lips slightly, his smile tinged with mockery. "As long as you don't move, I won't kiss you." His tone was lazy, but there seemed to be something else mixed in, something hard to name. "Relax. I'm not Leander. I'm not that casual." For some reason, Vincent felt like a landmine today. Step on him, and he'd explode. Chapter 5. Since we wouldn't actually kiss, for the sake of the rabbit princess, I decided to try. I followed Vincent's instructions, biting one end of the chocolate stick and staying completely still, waiting for him to move closer bit by bit. When the distance between us was down to about 2 centimeters, I stared blankly at his relaxed, lazy features. It felt like there was a little deer inside my heart that had eaten popping candy. Thumping wildly, Vincent focused on biting the chocolate stick, his movements slowing as he got closer. When our noses touched, he stopped, as if he was deciding whether to bite it off. At that moment, someone passing by suddenly bumped into my back. I lost my balance and leaned forward, and then, I crashed straight into Vincent's lips. It was over. I had become the flirtatious one. Chapter 6. Vincent only paused for a second. Then he lifted his eyes to meet mine. He immediately brushed against my lips, bit off the chocolate stick, and pulled away. A very short piece remained. The owner didn't even bother measuring and simply stuffed the rabbit princess into my arms. Exactly. How could you win this game without kissing? All the other couples are too shy to kiss in front of so many people, only you two are bold enough. I buried almost half my face into the fluffy rabbit to hide how red and burning my face had become. Somehow, the owner's words felt like an insult. With Vincent's personality, there was no way he'd let this go without saying something sarcastic. Sure enough, before we'd even walked a few meters, he let out a quiet scoff. So you didn't want to kiss, and I just made it happen? I've kept my first kiss for over 20 years, and now it's gone. Don't you think you should say something? I pretended not to hear him, lowering my head even further and quickening my pace. But Vincent had no intention of letting me off. He grabbed me and pulled me back, forcing me to look up at him. Playing dead? I couldn't avoid it anymore. I had no choice but to pull my face out of the plush rabbit, with a face as red as if it had been roasted over fire. I muttered, then, "I'm sorry." Vincent wasn't satisfied. He looked down at me coldly. One apology is enough? If I take your rabbit right now and say sorry, would you forgive me too? I wasn't completely without a temper. Annoyed by his aggressive attitude, I raised my head and met his gaze. Then what do you want? Do you want to kiss back? My slow brain didn't register how awkward that sounded the moment I said it. It was only when Vincent stared at me for 2 seconds and rejected me coldly that I slowly realized it. I just wanted to dig a hole and bury myself. Vincent calmly looked away. No, I don't want to kiss you. It was a completely normal and reasonable sentence. But somehow, the atmosphere still cooled down without anyone noticing. For the rest of the time, I held the rabbit and barely spoke. Vincent also seemed uninterested. It wasn't until evening, when he walked me home, that he spoke again before leaving. Stop liking Leander. He treats you badly. Before I could respond, he turned and walked away. The light of the setting sun fell across half his body. I watched his back and felt that he was unhappy. Chapter 7. Vincent was right. Actually, ever since Leander kept pushing me onto Vincent, I had already started to like him less and less. Otherwise, today I wouldn't have only felt sad for such a short while before Vincent distracted me. I have all the emotions of a normal person, but my mind doesn't allow my world to become too complicated. My thinking is simple. Whoever doesn't like me, I won't like them either. And my people-pleasing personality only shows itself to those who treat me well. After figuring it out, I called Leander. Hello, Leander. I want to talk about our childhood engagement. He took an impatient deep breath on the other end, then interrupted me in a low voice before I could finish. I've already said it, I'll take care of you. Don't overthink what happened today. Sabrina and I had to go to another province with our supervisor because of something urgent. I'll come see you when we're back. Then he hung up. I felt a little frustrated. I was clearly just trying to tell him I wanted to call off the engagement. Chapter 8. A week later, I found out that Leander had returned earlier than Sabrina on a different flight. After getting dressed, I took a taxi to find him, eager to end this meaningless childhood engagement. But just as we were about to reach the school gate, another taxi rear-ended us. The impact made my head spin violently. I can't clearly remember the details of that day anymore. I only remember my arms being stuck in the shattered car window, my head dizzy, my whole body in pain. A minute before I lost consciousness, I saw Leander running toward me, and then, he ran past me. He pulled Sabrina out of the car behind us. He only casually comforted me with a single sentence. Valeria, don't be afraid. The ambulance will be here soon. Then he left first, with Sabrina. Chapter 9. When I woke up again, I was lying in a hospital bed. My arms and head hurt so much I wanted to cry. The ward was silent, there was no one there but me. Half an hour later, Leander finally appeared. Does it still hurt? He raised his hand as if to rub my head. I instinctively avoided him. His hand froze midair, and the warmth in his eyes faded. You're blaming me for not saving you first? I vaguely felt that I didn't have the right to blame him. After all, he wasn't my boyfriend. I was just a little sad about being left behind. Maybe a bit more than just a little. Leander lowered his hand. He looked down at me calmly, his tone rational and detached. Sorry, Valeria, but I don't regret it. Sabrina's head was injured. I had to save her immediately. Her brain was made for physics. It shouldn't end up like yours. At that moment, I finally felt the helplessness of being stupid. If I were smarter, I would definitely have many arguments to refute him. But now, I could only press my lips together and stay silent. Didn't understand? Leander repeated it again, blunt and cruel. What I mean is, if it happened again, I would still choose to save her first. The words of a smart person can hurt so much. I didn't want to listen anymore, so I stiffly changed the subject. Leander, I understand now. What I want to say is, let's call off the engagement. He didn't answer. After a moment, he came to a firm conclusion. You're still upset with me. His expression hadn't changed, yet it made me feel inexplicably cold. I was about to deny it when his phone rang. Sabrina's voice came from the other end. Hey, Leander, my hand doesn't seem to move. Can you come feed me? So Leander left again, leaving me behind, my hands wrapped up like rice dumplings. With no other choice, I called my father, whom I hadn't contacted in a long time overseas. In the end, after half an hour of being scolded harshly, he helped Leander get rid of me, this burden called a childhood engagement. Before hanging up, my father muttered in a low voice, "You're already 18. I don't have any obligation to raise you anymore. Don't come to the US to find me, and from now on, if you can avoid calling me, then don't call at all." Then he blocked me. Chapter 10. I don't know how much time had passed. The ward door was pushed open again, and the one who came in was Vincent. Leander followed behind him. Clearly, Leander had called him over again. Since Valeria is more familiar with you, help me take care of her for a while. I can't leave Sabrina right now. The moment Vincent saw me, his expression turned cold. He lowered his eyes, as if trying to steady his emotions. Half a minute later, he let out a cold laugh and looked at Leander with sarcasm. Your girlfriend, and you want me to take care of her for you? Leander frowned. I've already said it, she's not my girlfriend. I just see her as a younger sister. Sabrina called again. Leander answered as he walked out of the ward. Vincent locked the door behind him and looked at my arm. Leander said your injuries weren't serious. I shook my head, disagreeing. I think they're still pretty serious. Because it really hurts. Vincent's eyes darkened slightly. I understand. He muttered something else in a very low voice, but I didn't catch it. Chapter 11. After that, Leander never came to see me again, but I could still hear his voice every day, because Vincent kept calling him. Leander, your girlfriend needs to go to the restroom. Can I carry her there? How many times do I have to say she's not my girlfriend? Do whatever you want. I looked at Vincent, completely confused, not understanding what he was doing. When he picked me up and set me down at the restroom door, my lips accidentally brushed against his ear. Without hesitation, he immediately called Leander again. Leander, when I carried your girlfriend just now, she accidentally kissed my ear. Do you mind? Leander, get lost. She kissed me, and you don't care? Stop calling me. You're disturbing Sabrina's rest. And just like that, Vincent ended up on Leander's blacklist. Vincent hung up, staring at the darkened phone screen with a faint smile. After a moment, he muttered under his breath, "Idiot." A question mark practically popped over my head. Vincent. Who are you scolding? He didn't answer. He just looked at me intently. His tone turned serious. Will you come home with me? Leander has clarified countless times that you're not in a relationship. Valeria. Stop wanting him, okay? Choose me as your boyfriend. I like you more than he does. He paused for a moment, then added, 10,000 times more. My brain couldn't keep up. I didn't understand what he meant. Or maybe, I didn't dare believe it. Vincent seemed to misunderstand something, a faint trace of disdain appearing in his eyes. He doesn't care at all that I held you, that I kissed you. With someone like that, you still want to like him. Is that it? Ah, now I understood. So all those endless phone calls Vincent made were meant for me to see, to show me how little Leander cared about me. I answered first. I don't like him anymore. Vincent. I'm a bit slow when I talk. Can you give me a moment to process? He paused, then smiled. Then have you processed it? Do you want to choose me? I was still trying to process the fact that Vincent liked me. I thought he was just kind, just treating me well out of sympathy. Vincent wasn't a patient person. He didn't want to wait for me to keep thinking. He walked over, cupped my head, and gently pushed it downward. I was forced to nod. Vincent, you agreed. That very night, Vincent wrapped me in a coat and carried me out of the hospital. And just like that, I gained a boyfriend. It felt like drinking a lightly sweet iced fruit tea in the middle of a scorching summer. The cool bubbles washed away the suffocating heat and restlessness. As they burst one after another, there was even a faint hint of sweetness. I didn't resist the idea of Vincent becoming my boyfriend. On the contrary, I felt a little happy. Chapter 12. The bandages on my arms had been partially removed, but it was still difficult to move them, so I could only stand by and watch Vincent prepare the guest room for me. At that moment, the phone in his pocket rang. He took it out, glanced at it, then handed it to me. Answer it for me. Ask him why he's looking for your boyfriend. Then he turned and went into the bathroom. On the screen, the name read, Leander. I pressed the answer button. Vincent, where did you take Valeria? The nurse said you discharged her. Have you lost your mind? You just took my girlfriend like that? Following what Vincent told me, I held the phone and spoke slowly. May I ask why you're looking for my boyfriend? He's running my bath right now, so he can't answer your call. There was a sudden silence on the other end. When Leander spoke again, his voice had turned colder. Boyfriend? Valeria. What do you mean? I turned into a walking encyclopedia. Still speaking gently, it means Vincent and I are dating. Leander seemed to find it ridiculous. There was even a hint of laughter in his voice. Then what about me? Valeria. Do you remember I'm your fiancé? Our childhood engagement has been called off. I couldn't wait to share this good news with him. But Leander and I weren't from the same world. He couldn't feel my happiness. Vincent could. Because when I told him, he seemed even happier than I was. Leander stayed silent for a long time. I didn't want to wait anymore, so I said a brief goodbye and hung up. Chapter 13. My arms still hadn't fully healed, so I couldn't let them touch water. I had to raise them high, like I was doing a warm-up exercise, before I dared to sink into the bathtub. After my bath, Vincent had already finished his as well and changed into his pajamas. Sitting by the bed waiting for me, he tapped the medical kit on the bedside table. Come change your dressing. As Vincent held my arm and applied the medicine, he suddenly sighed. I took my boyfriend's emotions quite seriously, so I immediately asked, "What's wrong?" Vincent replied calmly, "Leander's angry that you're dating me. When we go to school tomorrow, he'll definitely give me trouble." I frowned in confusion. Why would he be angry? He doesn't like me. Because he's a jerk. Vincent curled his lips slightly. I nodded, accepting this explanation. He continued the topic. What if he bullies me? Will you protect me, Valeria? I will. My answer lacked confidence. It was more about comforting Vincent than anything else. I didn't even know how I was supposed to protect a guy who was more than 20 centimeters taller than me. Vincent smiled faintly, unusually gentle. He stayed with me until the medicine on both my arms had dried before getting up to leave. The bedside lamp was turned off. Vincent leaned down and placed a soft kiss on my forehead. Good night. I closed my eyes. Day 1 of my first love. Completed. Chapter 14. Vincent had guessed wrong. Leander didn't target Vincent. On the contrary, he seemed to be speaking up for him. His gaze fell on our interlocked hands, and he narrowed his eyes in disbelief. Vincent, are you insane? Like Sabrina said, are you dating her to satisfy some kind of weird fetish? Like a thing for dumb girls? Vincent had never brought up the fact that I was slow to process things. Most of the time, I even felt that he treated me like a normal person. There was none of the contempt or pity others showed. Vincent's expression didn't change. He still held my hand. You think she's stupid? What else would she be? Vincent lifted his chin slightly, looking down at Leander. There was no attempt to hide the disdain in his eyes. Leander, what do you call stupid? Just because her thoughts aren't as complicated and filthy as yours, that makes her stupid? At least she knows right from wrong. She's far better than someone like you who can't even see himself clearly. Do you understand now, idiot? Leander's gaze remained locked on me, but his words were directed at Vincent. There's nothing I can't see clearly. You'd better not regret this. Vincent curled his lips faintly, not bothering to respond. He picked up his document bag and took me toward the office building. On the way, Vincent glanced at me casually. He just used such harsh words to insult you. Aren't you angry? Don't tell me you still can't let go of your childhood sweetheart. There was a hint of jealousy in his tone. I held onto Vincent's arm and shook my head. When I realized he was insulting me, I got angry right away. But you already scolded him back for me, so it canceled out. Why would I get angry twice? Vincent stopped walking and suddenly apologized. He let out a self-mocking laugh. Do you think I'm being overly sensitive? I looked up at him. Vincent said, because you always say you're slow. I wasn't sure if that applies to your feelings too, whether you still have lingering feelings for Leander or something like that. He turned his gaze away, but I still caught the unease hidden within it. I tightened my grip on his hand. I don't like him at all anymore. Not at all. I emphasized each word, but it still didn't feel like enough. Vincent looked at me, as if waiting for me to say more. It felt like there was an invisible rope swinging back and forth in front of me. I could vaguely sense it, but I couldn't grasp it, so I fell silent. Vincent didn't say anything more. He just gently patted my head. That's already enough, Valeria. I'm satisfied. Chapter 15. While I was waiting for Vincent downstairs at the office building, I ran into Leander again. He walked straight toward me. I instinctively tried to avoid him, but he grabbed my wrist. That's pretty hurtful, Valeria. Leander's gaze darkened as he said, you used to cling to me the most, when I couldn't break free. I immediately used my other hand to hit and pound his arm, forcing him to let go. Leander didn't show any sign of pain, but he still released me. You think Vincent is better than me, is that it? I didn't want to talk to him anymore, so I walked past him into the building to wait for Vincent. From behind me came Leander's indifferent voice. He's only acting like this now because he hasn't experienced people's judgment yet. I suggest you take a good look. He's actually just like me, just as ordinary and shallow. Why should I listen to someone who had just insulted me? As for Vincent, I could judge him for myself, so I didn't take Leander's words to heart. Until that day, when Vincent and I were walking on campus and people kept glancing at me, I suddenly remembered what Leander had said. The murmurs around us grew louder and louder. Yeah, it's her. I heard right. There's something wrong with her brain. What? A mental illness? That's so scary. What the hell? How did the school even let someone with schizophrenia in here? Exactly. And I heard she went crazy and drove into a girl from our school. What was her name? Sabrina, I think. Almost instinctively, I loosened my grip on Vincent's hand. That feeling, like being pricked from all directions, dragged me back to the days when I followed behind Leander, chasing after him. He had strictly forbidden any physical contact with him at school, and I had to keep at least a 1-meter distance behind him. I knew why, but I still suppressed my sadness and tried to comfort him. Leander, don't worry, I won't talk. No one will be able to tell that I'm a bit slow. I won't embarrass you. At the time, he was writing a paper, his eyes fixed on the computer screen. His cold voice carried a trace of mockery. So you think it's not embarrassing if I'm followed by a mute instead? I didn't say anything more. I quietly carried my cup back to my room, only daring to cry in a suppressed voice once I was alone. Because I myself was already a burden, I wasn't allowed to have any temper. That was something my father had emphasized countless times before leaving the country. Chapter 16. I had just loosened my grip on Vincent slightly, when he suddenly let go of me completely. The next second, he grabbed a boy by the collar. The veins on the back of Vincent's pale hand bulged, his entire presence filled with hostility. Say it. Who were you calling mentally ill? The boy's gaze flickered toward me, then quickly avoided it. And no one. You must have heard wrong. Vincent smiled faintly and leaned closer. His voice lowered slightly. It's fine if you don't dare admit it. I can beat it out of you until you do. As he spoke, Vincent raised his fist. I widened my eyes and was just about to stop him when someone else spoke first. What's the point of hitting him? Leander walked out slowly from the shadows. Even if you hit him, do you think people will stop talking? Vincent, when did you become this irrational? The people who had been gossiping earlier were frightened by Vincent and quickly dispersed in small groups. Vincent's fist stopped midair as he slowly looked up at Leander. You did this? Yes. Leander admitted it without hesitation. Vincent nodded, then let go of the boy. The boy stumbled away and ran off. Vincent walked straight up to Leander and threw the punch at his face. Scumbag. Leander's head tilted slightly from the impact. Yet he still seemed unconcerned. Why are you so worked up? He curled his lips, his gaze filled with disdain. Aren't you the one who acts like you don't care about public opinion? I've known her for years. I've gotten into more fights for her than you have, and in the end, I still couldn't stand it. They're just whispering a few things about you. And you can't even tolerate that? Vincent, do you really think you're any better than me? I lowered my head, staring at my toes, suddenly not daring to look at Vincent's expression. One thing I was certain of, as long as I didn't bring him trouble, Vincent would still like me. But in this situation, I could only lower my expectations, lower and lower. So low that even if he gave up on me because of this, I would only allow myself to be sad for one day. The wait for Vincent's response felt unusually long, as if a very, very long time had passed. I finally heard his voice. So that's it. Vincent raised his hand again, dragging out his words lazily before finishing. Trash assumes everyone else must be just as rotten. The moment he finished speaking, another punch landed on Leander's face. You're so desperate to prove I'm just like you that you don't mind hurting her? Vincent's voice was hoarse from holding back his anger. Are you blind? Can't you see how upset she is? Leander's figure, facing away from me, paused. He didn't turn around to follow Vincent's words. He only replied calmly, what does it matter? She's used to it anyway. Chapter 17. Because of that sentence, the two of them started fighting again. Just as Leander was about to strike back at Vincent, I picked up a stone from the grass, not too big, not too small, and hurled it at his hand with all my strength. Leander's entire arm trembled from the pain, but at least he finally stopped. I had promised Vincent I would protect him, and the realization that I could actually do something for him filled me with a sense of accomplishment. I walked over and helped Vincent up. He's right, I'm used to it. I didn't really care about what they said. Then I looked at the injuries on him, wanting to touch, but not daring to. The corners of my lips drooped unconsciously. It's only when I see you hurt that I feel sad. So don't fight him anymore. Let's go to the hospital. Before Vincent could respond, Leander behind me suddenly let out a soft, inexplicable laugh. I pretended not to hear it and helped Vincent leave. Valeria. Leander spoke again, his tone unreadable. My hand is bleeding. I took out a tissue and pressed it against the spot on Vincent's arm where blood was seeping out. Too busy to respond to him. Why was he suddenly emphasizing that? I even felt a little worried that he might be trying to blame me for it. Chapter 18. At the hospital, the moment the doctor said Vincent had a bruised knuckle, my eyes instantly turned red. Vincent, however, looked as carefree as ever. After getting the medicine and bandaging done, we went home. Vincent probably noticed my low mood and casually started joking around. Tisk. Leander still went too easy on me. I looked up at him in disbelief. Huh? Vincent raised an eyebrow, his gaze tracing the bandaged hand. A few punches, a minor injury, and you're already this moved. If it were worse, wouldn't you be even more touched? Get moved a few more times and maybe you'll fall for me completely. He sprawled lazily on the sofa, as if seriously considering it. Maybe I should set up another time with Leander tomorrow, see when he's free to hit me a few more times. Because Vincent looked so serious, I actually believed him. I hurried over to him and blurted out, I already like you a lot. Don't go looking to get beaten up. Actively asking to be hit, that's the real weird fetish. What did you say? Vincent slowly dropped his smile, staring at me without blinking. Only then did I belatedly realize I had just confessed. Under the soft moonlight, Vincent's nervousness and unease were laid completely bare. I blinked. Then I gathered my long hair behind my ears, lowered my head, and placed a kiss on Vincent's cheek. It's not just being moved. There's also a lot of heartache. You only feel heartache because you like someone. After a long moment, Vincent finally spoke. And is there also a lot of liking? I nodded. Yes. After that day became the day I had seen Vincent smile the most since I met him. Without even realizing it, my first love had already fallen into place. Chapter 19. Leander had actually guessed wrong. He mocked Vincent, saying that fighting people was useless. But the truth was, after that day, the rumors suddenly disappeared as if they had evaporated overnight. Sometimes, I would secretly glance at the people around me, but everyone was busy with their own things. No one kept sneaking looks at me anymore. Maybe no one wanted their face to end up looking as miserable as Leander's. As for whether people were still talking behind my back, it wasn't worth wasting my brainpower on anymore. Chapter 20. Because Sabrina's injury was to her head, she only returned to school after fully recovering. After hearing that I had completely cut ties with Leander, she really did start pursuing him openly. Occasionally, when our eyes met, she would just snort lightly, no longer saying anything harsh or mean. I think it was precisely because she wasn't as unpleasant as before that I chose to step in that day. Chapter 21. I ran into that scene while I was waiting for Vincent to finish class. Students from another classroom were coming out one after another, and I saw Sabrina walking ahead in a skirt. Behind her, a boy was practically walking pressed up against her. Then, a flash of light came from between the boy's legs. Since Sabrina was already near the back of the line, there weren't many people behind her. That made it even less likely for someone to kindly warn her. Fortunately, when the flash went off again, Sabrina noticed. The moment she turned around, the boy stuffed his phone into his pocket. What are you doing? Sabrina stared at him and questioned him, her voice not lowered in the slightest. Were you secretly taking photos? The students who were about to leave sensed the drama and all stopped to watch. The boy calmly denied it. You're overthinking it, Sabrina. Sabrina was so angry that her expression tightened. Then take out your phone and let me check. Why should I? The boy spoke with full confidence. Do you even understand what privacy is? Sabrina clenched her fists at her sides. What are you being guilty about? You did secretly take photos. I saw the flash. Take out your phone, or I'll call the police. Some classmates around them couldn't stand it anymore and started urging the boy to take out his phone. The boy cursed a few times but still refused to back down. Fine. If you want to check, go ahead. But if it proves I didn't secretly take photos, you'll apologize to me in front of all 4 classes during tomorrow's big lecture. Sabrina, furious, nodded without hesitation. And what if you did secretly take photos? The boy curled his lips. Then call the police and have me taken away. Seeing how confident he was, the crowd started to waver. Class in Vincent's group had run overtime, and when they finally came out, even more people gathered to watch. Sabrina's gaze landed on Leander, who had just come out, and her tense expression softened a little. It was as if Leander's presence gave her confidence. Sabrina nodded. Okay. The boy took out his phone, unlocked it, and handed it directly to Sabrina. She could check whatever she wanted. There really weren't any photos. 2 or 3 minutes passed. Some people grew impatient, complaining as they dispersed. In an instant, the blame shifted onto Sabrina. Her face turned paler and paler as she frantically flipped through apps, muttering to herself, "That's impossible. I couldn't have seen it wrong. She instinctively turned to Leander for help. Leander, I was secretly photographed. It has nothing to do with me. Leander interrupted her expressionlessly. How much longer is this going to take? You're responsible for recording today's experiment. At that moment, I finally believed that Leander's favoritism towards Sabrina was only because of her talent in physics. The boy leaned against the wall with his arms crossed, sneering at Sabrina, who was on the verge of tears. Vincent had been kept behind by the teacher for a few minutes and came out last. He walked over to me and glanced at the commotion with little interest. What are you looking at so seriously? I stared at the boy without blinking, ignoring Vincent's question. It wasn't until the boy straightened up and impatiently said to Sabrina, "Finished checking? Give me my phone back, and don't forget to apologize in public tomorrow," that I finally got a clear look at his clothes, to avoid causing trouble for the people taking care of me. I rarely interfered in things like this, but this time, I saw it clearly. That's not the phone. My voice made those who were about to leave stop again. The boy suddenly turned to look at me. His expression was completely different from the calm confidence he had just shown. Sabrina seemed to grab onto a lifeline and hurried over to me. What did you say? The phone used for secretly taking photos had a white case. It's not this one. That phone was tucked at his waist. Cold sweat broke out on the boy's forehead. He glanced around in panic and turned to run, but he was quickly chased down and pinned by other boys. They pulled open his jacket, and another phone was stuck at his waistband. The moment Sabrina saw the photos, she finally broke down and cried out loud. I didn't look at her again. I left with Vincent. Chapter 22. Vincent. Vincent, do you think I was being a bit nosy? No. Vincent took out a pack of fruit gummies from his backpack, opened it, and handed it to me. His tone was gentle and serious. You protected someone. That's really amazing. Valeria. I nodded twice in agreement. Then I fed Vincent a gummy as a reward. Just as we were about to leave the school gate, Sabrina suddenly caught up to us. Thank you. I responded with a simple "oh," then turned back as if nothing had happened and continued chatting with Vincent. I didn't take Sabrina to heart. Chapter 23. A week later, the results of a competition Vincent's group had participated in were announced. They won first prize. It seemed to be quite prestigious. The professor even allocated funding for a celebration banquet. The budget was generous, and some people brought their girlfriends. So Vincent brought me along as well. I was fully focused on mixing my crab roe tofu rice. At some point, Sabrina sat down next to me and startled me. Hey, that day, your eyes were pretty sharp. I glanced at her, confused, then continued mixing my food without saying anything. Sabrina picked up a spoon and scooped some crab roe tofu into my bowl. Her expression was awkward, and she kept sneaking glances at me. Why did you help me? Don't you dislike me? I scooped up a bite of the mixed rice and was eating. Hearing her, I had to move the food to both sides of my cheeks before answering. A little, but I think that guy was more disgusting. She rested her chin on her hand and let out an unhappy "oh." After a moment, Sabrina spoke again, somewhat awkwardly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called you a mentally disabled child before. I didn't look up, still focusing on my food. My voice muffled. It's okay. Vincent called you that too. He even made you so mad you got low blood sugar. We're even now. Sabrina was speechless. She coldly scooped 3 more spoonfuls of crab roe tofu into my bowl, then angrily returned to her seat. My spoon paused for a moment before I lowered my head and continued eating. For now, I had no intention of becoming friends with Sabrina, so I didn't want to respond to her goodwill. Midway through the meal, a waiter brought in 2 glasses of milk and asked Vincent and Leander, "You both ordered a glass of milk. Should I place them in front of each of you?" Both of them pointed at me. There for her, someone at the table, who didn't know the situation, asked bluntly, "Hey, Leander, Vincent ordered milk for his girlfriend. So why did you order one for her too? Trying to steal his girlfriend?" Leander kept a blank face and didn't explain. Vincent, however, directly told the waiter to place both glasses in front of me. He didn't look embarrassed at all. If anything, he seemed rather pleased. Leander has always treated my girlfriend like his own sister. It's only natural for him to take care of her. Leander sneered coldly and ignored him. Vincent continued on his own, his tone deliberately teasing. There's no way Leander would have any other intentions toward my girlfriend. After all, the reason we're together, Leander was the one who brought us together. As he spoke, Vincent patted Leander on the shoulder. Thanks, bro-in-law. Get lost. Leander shook his hand off, his expression growing colder. Vincent scoffed lightly and didn't bother arguing further. Today's celebration banquet also doubled as Leander's farewell party. I heard he was going to Myanmar as an exchange student. Vincent had recommended him to the department. As I drank my milk, I shook my head in admiration. Vincent really was a broad-minded person. After the dinner ended in the evening, Leander stopped me as I was about to leave. He lowered his eyes and smiled bitterly. Valeria, I've figured out a lot of things recently. I originally had a lot I wanted to tell you, but after thinking about it, I won't say it. I don't want to trouble you. I felt a bit confused. Then why did he stop me? Just then, Vincent came back after settling the bill and saw him standing there acting sentimental. As he passed by, he lightly bumped into Leander's shoulder. With a mocking curl of his lips, he pulled me away and said over his shoulder, "What do you think saying it would change? Bro-in-law, have a safe trip to Myanmar." Chapter 24. It seemed like my brain was working a little faster than before. As soon as we got home, I suddenly reacted, letting out a delayed "ah." Leander seems to have fallen for me. Vincent's expression changed, which only confirmed my guess. I happily grabbed his sleeve and shook it. Right? Right? I'm right, aren't I? Vincent's face darkened. You're that happy about it? Yes. Because before I could finish, Vincent pressed his lips against mine. He pushed me down onto the sofa, the force of his kiss unusually intense. Only after a long while did he let me go. It's too late for you to realize it now. You already confessed to me. If you start having other thoughts, that's cheating. Understand? My lips felt sore and numb. I complained, a little aggrieved. I was just happy that I'm reacting faster now. You kissed me so hard it hurt. Vincent froze for a moment, then apologized softly. Valeria, I'm sorry. Then he leaned down and kissed me again, this time, much gentler. He lingered on my lips briefly before pulling away. I'm sorry. I wrapped my arms around his neck, my voice softening as well. Don't be afraid. I only like you. Vincent slipped his arm under my knees and lifted me into his arms. He lowered his head, brushing his nose affectionately against mine. Say it again. He carried me into his room, from the bed to the bathroom, then to the sofa, the lounge chair, the stairs. I was made to say I like you countless times. Eventually, everything fell quiet. Vincent carried me out of the bathroom and helped me change into a new set of pajamas. A lingering goodnight kiss landed on my forehead. In a low voice, Vincent said, I love you.